Welcome back to the small UK city garden extension. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at a number of deliveries that come as well as the pre-mixed concrete. Is it better to get pre-mixed concrete or mix it yourself for your foundations? I'm going to talk you through the process of this video. If you haven't already caught up, you can catch up on the other series of these episodes. We're going to have a number of deliveries. We have got our inspector. So you can see here Max is inspecting the dirt that has come out of the foundations, and he's going to have a little sit on top just to be the king of the castle. So we have got a small city garden extension planned, and if you're following along, you would have seen the episodes where we basically got planning permission, we dug out the foundations, we got the builders, and this point we have got the foundations dug out to the required depth, width, and there's another one, is it? Deep, wide. Yeah, that's it. So it's 1.1 meters deep. It's about 600 millimeters wide, and that is sufficient based on the plans that we had. And next step is getting the right amount of concrete. So pouring concrete is actually quite an interesting option because you have to have the right type of weather. If it's too cold, it's not great. So you need to have good weather. At the moment, we're doing this in January. So remember, January in the UK is like still cold. So that's why we had to consider these options. So over this episode, I'm going to be explaining and showing you what's going on. We've got some deliveries coming. So once the concrete goes down, we have some blocks. So these are grey blocks that will go down on the foundation damp-proof layer below the wall of the actual extension. And this will be in the ground. So it will probably be 2 blocks high. And there will be additional engineering bricks as well. So there's a couple of deliveries coming. There's 2 different delivery services that we used for this. So the blocks came from one company and the builders did all of this. So they ordered all the materials. So I didn't have to really worry about this. They had about 4 bags of sand, and you'll see they put sand in 2 different places depending on how they mix it. So we had the blocks, 2 pallets of blocks, and we had about 4 big bags of sand. Depending on the prices, and you have to check what the price situation is, but at the moment this costs us something like 185 190 pounds for all this stuff. But obviously as time passes, this is all increasing, so prices are changing, so don't use this as like a real guide. And the main thing that you'll find with builders giving you a quote is if you get a price, you'll be fine within like a week probably, but then again they do change daily. If you get a quote from somebody and you do a planning permission and 2 months later they tell you a different price, it's most likely because prices have increased for materials. So it's not really the builders ripping you off in most cases anyway. As long as you've got a figure of idea of what things cost, you can roughly figure out what they're charging you and how much the material is and how much the labor is. But the first stuff got delivered early in the morning, and then because it was a decent day, this whole week was really cold, but luckily this one day that the cement came, we just got lucky. I think it wasn't minus anything. It was like a decent day. The other few days during this week has been -2, -5, so it's not been great for like foundation laying and stuff. So the premix comes in this cement mixing van. I remember the olden day vans, they used to be like the turning cement mixers, but this was all computerized and they offered a barrel service. So let me know how many barrels you think it took to get these foundations laid. Give your guesses in the comments. Let you know if you're right later on. You can count in the time lapse how many times they used barrels. I had a guess and I was totally off because I thought they're going to fill all of it up with cement, but apparently they don't. They only need like 150 mil or 200 mil, something like that. We went overboard. We went deeper than we needed to, just to make sure there's a good solid foundation. So if you're quick enough, count in this time lapse how many barrels did they put down. So the guys from the cement mix had 2 people like sending down this cement through this. So you'll notice on this, cement comes out separately and sand comes out separately, and then it mixes it in this while it's dropping, so it gets really well mixed. So it's not already pre-mixed in the van. They've got like a different section. There's 2 sections in the cement van. One's holding water, one's holding sand, and there's another area for cement which all gets mixed as it comes down this tunnel. And if you have like a hard access area, you can actually get an extended tunnel. They do charge you for that, but that's an option. Not sponsored or anything. It's just the guys that the builders use because they've used them in the past and everything seemed to be fine. They had these really nice wheel barrels. They were plastic, but they made light work of it. How many did the time lapse? I might have to count and tell you at the end of the video how many barrels they used, because I'm noticing that I had to stop the time lapse to carry on this other segment because I recorded some on my phone as stuff was happening and I had the time lapse set up in the corner. So let me see if I can figure out. I think it was something like, well, I'm not gonna tell you now because you're gonna comment. So yeah, so one of our builders was using like a rake just to tap it all down, getting rid of air bubbles, making sure it's a nice firm surface. Use this rake thing, and we also blocked off the lower section where the pipes were, so it didn't go further than it needed to go. So the idea about this is it needs to be a firm base below the bricks that are going to be laid, and that way you're ticking off the box for the planning. So part of the application, the architect's got like plans, so you need to do everything in a certain type of way. So that's the reason they're doing this now. So this is laid down, then there will be a process of laying down blocks, which is what we've already had delivered, and then we're going to get engineering bricks. We used another company, Juicens, something like that. Juicens, was it? Let me check. Yeah, I just checked. Juicen, that's like an English company that makes the bricks and the stuff. So we got the engineering bricks and the wall bricks from Juicens, which is a separate company. You'll see at the end of this when they deliver them. That delivery came on another day. So what happened was, on one day we had the blocks delivered and we had the concrete mix and sand, and on the same day the cement guys came. So this is this episode, and at the end of this episode we had to leave this cement here for 2 days because the second day was too cold. And if it's too cold, you don't want to lay down bricks and cement and start blocking up because the sand's going to be frozen and everything's not going to work well. So they had like a 2-day break after this period, which gave enough time for this cement to basically get solid. And then there is when they laid the blocks, which is going to be the next episode. So if you're not already following along, make sure you subscribe so you can see the future episodes and see how this turns out. Remember, it's a storeroom / extension that we're planning here, and a utility room. It might be an office, I haven't decided yet, and we've got a layout plan slightly that I've done on an app as well. So the architect gave us a version, and then I've adjusted it a little bit to make it a little bit different. But you'll see here, this is how the cement comes out the mixer. It's kind of mixing it as it drops down and water's getting mixed together. It gets really well mixed. They use a good strong mix which is designed for foundations, so a specific type of mix, the ratio that they have to abide by. And that's normally stipulated in the architect's plans if you're using an architect. If you're doing all of this yourself, you want to have someone look over this to make sure it's the right type of mix and things go to plan. Because our inspector basically saw the builders and he knew that they've done work in the past which has been okay. And that's why he kind of approved it, because everything was fine. So that's before when the holes were being dug. Here's a delivery from Judson, which is the bricks. So as architects work with builders, and if you have someone who's doing the work for you, they normally have familiarized with like what type of work people do, and they normally know, okay, these guys do a good job, so you should be fine, and they don't be as intense. If you're doing it yourself, the inspector's checking, he might be like, oh, this guy's doing it himself, let me just make sure he knows what he's doing, if that makes sense. Just like experience and how things go. So here's a couple of bags here. There's cement on top of the mound of sand. There's a couple of blocks there, 3 bags, 4, 5 bags of sand. These are the bricks that came. So the bricks, the black ones are engineering bricks. Were a bit more expensive, I mean like £2 a brick or something like that. And the red ones are about £1.50 a brick at the moment. I think prices do change. You're looking at about £900 worth of bricks here. So things are, getting expensive. Remember the days where they used to be like 20p, 30p a brick. Those days are kind of gone. And there are also people that go around collecting old bricks. So I don't know how that works, but if you're building an extension and you're breaking down a wall, there's often people on the street similar to like the metal collectors who collect old bricks. This is the damp membrane that will be used, and this is the ties to tie in the wall to the existing building. So I wanted to show all of this so you know roughly what's going on and types of things you need to buy basically. Luckily the builders know what they're doing, so they're getting it as they need it and doing what they need to do. And the sand's here, the blocks are here, the bricks are here. They're keeping everything nice and warm with this fire that they'll use. They've got a mixing system set up here now for the mixing of cement. You'll see the cement did dry after 2 days. See that? It's solid now. After the first day it was a little bit, not totally dry, but it was a bit, next time. Yeah, so we're at the end of this episode. Thank you for joining me. Next time, we're going to be starting to lay the actual foundation blocks, bricks, and cementing stuff down. So the main work starts where you'll start seeing movement. So keep an eye out for the next episode. This is exactly what's going to be going on. So hopefully you're subscribing to follow along on this journey. And I will see you on the next episode where we're going to be laying down the foundation and the dam course.